Welcome into the Verizon Postgame Show on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. Mark Farzetta along with Derek Gunn, Seth Joyner, Bailey Livesey, and the Dr. Bruce Gross here. Philadelphia Eagles now improved to 8-2 on the season with a 16-9 victory over the Detroit Lions. And to sum up this victory, I think it could be used in 3 words. Defense, defense, and more defense. Jalen Phillips looks like he's absolutely shot out of a cannon on this defense. Jalen Carter batting down balls. I mean, Vic Fangio's scheme against whatever it was Dan Campbell was trying to do and Jared Goff was trying to do, Seth, clearly did not work against a very stout, strong, and aggressive Eagles defense.
No, it's like we talked about in the pregame. I told you guys, if the Eagles can control this Detroit run game, then that sets the stage for them to be able to get after Jared Goff, put pressure on Jared Goff, and they pressured him and they beat him and they hit him time after time. He was inaccurate. Balls were off target. It was the perfect game plan because, anybody who knows, if you watch the Detroit Lions long enough, you know full well that the way you beat them is to try to get that run game under control. Because if you can get the run game under control and make Jared Goff have to throw the ball, what did I say? We can get him around 40 passes, 37, 14 for 37, okay? 2 sacks, an interception, 5 turnovers on downs. You couldn't ask for a better game plan from Vic Fangio, but you could never ask for a better, because a game plan is one thing. You always go in with one objective that you're trying to accomplish. It's another thing to get the players to actually go out and execute it. This football team, this Detroit Lions football team, okay, they averaged 31 points a game. The Eagles held them to 9 points. 9 points. I mean, you just can't talk about how phenomenal that is and the outlook for this defense. Dare I say, with the offensive production the last 2 weeks, the Eagles scored 16 points today. They scored 10 points last week, okay? And I would say that this Philadelphia Eagles, for all intents and purposes, at this point in time, D-Gun, they're a defensive football team. Because offensively, we're incompetent sometimes and unpredictable at times and inefficient and ineffective at times. But the one constant has been, over the last 2 weeks, is the stellar play of this defense.
The book on Jared Goff has always been, if you force him off his spot, he's not nearly as accurate. If you let him just stand stationary, he will tear anybody apart. And kudos to the Eagles because they could put pressure on him all night. They hit him. The one thing I love that Vic Fangio did tonight that a lot of teams, and I've watched this game for a long time, is when they get a lead, especially a double-digit lead, they go to that dang prevent defense and just let teams work their way down the field and get back in the game. Vic Fangio's defense kept attacking, kept getting hits on Jared Goff, kept moving him off his spot, But right now, this is a defensive team. We talk about identities. The offense has no identity. It's a chameleon. You don't know when it's going to show up and when it's going to hide in the bushes, okay? The defense shows up every week. You talk about holding a high-powered Lions offense to 9 points. Look at what they've done in the last week. They held Green Bay to 7 and Detroit to 9 points. I just love the way this defense is playing. It's funny, all throughout the fourth quarter, all you saw on social media and what we're seeing in the chat is fire Kevin Patullo. Fire Kevin Patullo. But if you look at some of the fourth down call, I mean, the head coach can override some of those calls if he wanted to, but he doesn't. He just lets it continue to go. I've never seen anybody stop the Eagles 3 times on a tush push in a game, let alone an entire season, but 3 times in a game? I mean, that could have been detrimental to this team in a lot of ways, but it wasn't. But then you look at the other guy, Dan Campbell, he goes for it 5 times on 4th down, and they're 0 for 5. The defense, it's a bend but don't break defense. It'll give up yards, but it's not going to let you in the end zone that often. And you look at the total yards that the Lions racked up tonight, over 300 yards of offense, 1 touchdown. 1 touchdown. You can't ask for anything better than that. Now, you can say, okay, the win affects the passing game, so on and so forth. But the bottom line is beat the opponent any way you can. And that's what the Eagles have been doing. Any way you can. There's always something different every week how they beat an opponent. And it usually starts with the defense making the necessary plays.
I think that they're evolving from a defense that has been a bend but don't break. Because, if you look at Jared Goff tonight, it seemed like Vic Fangio identified that he had him rattled, that he had him frazzled, and he never let loose. Even late in the game, he started sending, Nico Dean. He sends him on a blitz, and he blows up Montgomery, gets a sack on that play. Normally, they would just sit back and play zone in that circumstance. But I think if Vic Fangio feels like if his guys on the back end can hold up, okay, or if they can play some zone blitz where you're dropping one, you're rushing one and dropping another, that he's more apt, D-Gun, to bring a little more pressure.
Sure.
And he didn't necessarily have to bring the pressure
today
because the front four was just flat out getting there. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I think, when he feels like he's got a quarterback under his control, he's a lot more apt to just, continue to bring the pressure and continue to keep the heat on a quarterback like Jared Goff.
I don't think people also realize how big 5 batted passes were in a game like this, because I know there were at least 3 of them. Goff had a receiver open that he was going to. Mm-hmm. And, Jordan Davis, 3 knockdowns, Jalen Carter, 2 knockdowns. Those plays were huge in terms of stopping Detroit's momentum. Those are the kind of things that don't show up big in a stats book, but they show up big in terms of winning and losing games. And those 5 plays were huge in terms of what this team was able to do overall, and the defense in terms of helping get Detroit off the football field.
But that tells me another thing, D-Gun, how well coached they are, and understand that Jared Goff wants to hit those quick hitters. He's trying to hurry up and get the ball out, and what do you coach your D lineman to do? Hey, if you can't get there, the quarterback, understand when he's about to let it go and knock it down. Mm-hmm. Jared Goff is a 6'5", 6'6" quarterback. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for those passes to be batted down, other than the fact that that there's short to intermediate passes that are just going to be going over your head if while you're rushing. But if you get a good rush and that you can't get there, there's no need to just keep fighting. Mm-hmm. Just that ball's he's trying to get it out of his hands in a hurry because you've been hitting him and you've been pressuring him. Get your hands up and bat him down.
It's interesting, Gunnar, you alluded to the idea of the offense still having a lot to work on. And one of the things I truly love about working with you guys, it's never just about the win or just about the loss. It's how you got there. You can't just look at a game, they won, so no problems. No, you do have to look at things a little bit closer. And in this particular game, we might look at this as you win a game like this against the Giants, or you win a game like this against Washington later in the season, or Dallas, whatever. You could look at the offense, you could certainly nitpick, and it would be easy to do after a game like this. But the fact that the defense was so dominant against the second leading scoring team in the NFL. You're talking about a top 10 passing attack. You're talking about top 6 running attack. And bend but don't break, force turnover, get into sacks, force pressures and all that. Get off the field on defense time and time again. They forced 3 for 13 on third down conversion today against the Detroit Lions. That is huge for this Eagles defense. By far the star of the show, so we'll get to it right here. When you talk about a player to bank on, we don't like to be on the fence on this show ever, but we are going with the whole entire defense because we were rattling names off here. We were talking about Jalen Phillips. We were talking about Jalen Carter. We were talking about Jordan Davis. We were talking about Jalen Hunt. Cooper DeJean coming up with the interception off the Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis tipped ball at the line of scrimmage. This defense played absolutely on fire. And when you look at a win like this, it's not just some win against a haphazard team. It's against the Detroit Lions, a team that was 15-2 last year. By all reports, had this game circled on their calendar when the schedule came out, and the Eagles defense made sure that they guided this team to the victory today. How much of an impact, Seth, has Jalen Phillips had on this defense? Because I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing a guy like Jalen Hunt take 2 huge leaps forward in the last 2 games.
Well, listen, I talked about it, before the game last week, his first game. I said it makes all the difference in the world because now you trade for a guy, okay, and he comes in. The first game he's on your roster, he's penciled in as the starter. So if I'm a starter and I play on the edge D-gun or I'm a defensive end, I'm like, well, damn, I wasn't good enough, So now, if that doesn't well up some competitive juices in you, if that doesn't get you going, there's nothing like competition because competition always forces the cream to rise to the top. So if you know that Jalen Phillips is going to get starting reps, okay? Nolan Smith is the starter on the other side with a Jalen Hunt that's already coming on before you even made the trade. So now everybody else is kind of fighting for reps. They're trying to figure out if the starters are going to get 55 to 60% of the plays, then that other 45 to 35% means that somebody better get their act together because they got to get their playing time somewhere. You better show the coach that you want to play. And you know that Vic Fangio is the type of coach that if you don't show that you can get the job done, he's not going to give you time to play. Plain and simple. So just his presence, not only what he brings, because what he's brought as a player is off the charts. Like, this is a slam dunk for Howie, worth every single bit of the third-round draft pick that it took to get him, okay? We now have a defensive end that's not 6'2", 240 to 250 pounds that's playing defensive end. We have a true defensive end that replaces a Josh Sweat, if you will. That's the kind of player that Jalen Phillips is, okay? But what it does is it makes everybody else, it makes them step their game up. Because there's only so many plays that you can dole out, and when your starters are going to get 55 to 65% of the plays, you better start playing to claim your stake of that 45 to 35%.
There's one more name defensively that I did leave out, and I really did not expect to say it. Adori Jackson came up with a pass block, or a pass defended today. What happened?
You know it's a good night when he comes up with a defended pass play. Sometimes you make the play, sometimes you don't. As we've seen with Adori Jackson, most of the times he doesn't make the play. But, man, he came through when he had to. And that's what you want. It's always somebody different with this defense. We don't talk about the same people all the time. Think about this. When was the last time we really talked about Zach Bond? Mm-hmm. We haven't talked about Zach Bond in weeks, and we know what kind of player. Zach Bond is a Pro Bowl player. Mm-hmm. We haven't talked about, early in the season we were talking about him every week. We've been talking about Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nico Dean, now Jalen Phillips, we've talked about for a couple of games now. We've talked about you guys on the back end making plays. Haven't talked about Bond, but he's there. And you look at the stats, he's making his contributions as well. The depth of this defense and the health of this defense right now is huge. You look at this Eagles schedule, and when you win a Super Bowl, you're going to play a murderer's row schedule the next season. They beat Kansas City by 3 on the road. They beat the Rams by 7. They beat Tampa Bay by 6. They lost to Denver. Denver's balling right now. Only lost to Denver by 4, but they beat the Lions tonight by 7. And you held, again, I can't emphasize enough, you held Green Bay in their backyard to 7 points, and you held a team scoring 31 points a game to 9 points in your backyard. And you talk about the youth on this Eagles defense, this is character building stuff right here, because I guarantee you, you're going to face one or two of these teams that you've beaten again in the playoffs. If they continue this and secure that home field edge, those teams have to come through your backyard again, and you don't think that's in the back of their minds? Having to come through here again to play not just the Philadelphia Eagles, but in front of this hostile crowd. It's psychological warfare.
D-Gun, it's the confidence builder. Mark, you asked me in the pregame show, how much better this defense can get. And I've been saying it, for the last 3 weeks or so. They're only going to get better. Like, think about how many new pieces are on this defense from last year and how many of these pieces are trying to figure out how to play and where they fit in the Vic Fangio's defense, okay? As they continue to get better and their confidence continues to rise, they're only going to play better because their confidence is going to get better, and Vic Fangio is going to implement a little bit more here, a little bit more there in order to confuse offensive coordinators and show them something that he's already a master at showing you one thing pre-snap, and by the time the ball is snapped, they're in something completely different. Imagine when this defense continues to digest and decipher this defense, and they get it. When they get it, and he can really, get creative with some of the good stuff that I know he's got in his playbook. It's frightening. You heard Chris Collinsworth talk about it last night, how great last year's defense was, and watching this defense against one of the top-ranked defenses in the National Football League tonight, everybody's on notice that the Philadelphia Eagles defense is coming. Mm-hmm. We just got to get Rumpelstiltskin, our offense, to wake up and show up.
I think a lot of people are calling for that right now. So with it being, again, a game last week that you saw 10 points put on by the Eagles offense, and then tonight you see 16 points put up there. So field goals. Jake Elliott was another guy, by the way, we considered for player of the game, but player to bank on. A 49-yard field goal and 30-mile-per-hour wind gust? Not too bad there, Jake, to make. But this offense, still struggling. Early on, a lot of drops unfortunately, by the receiving core of the Eagles. Then combined with some missed throws there by Jalen Hurts. I think there was another drop in the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a miscommunication between him and A.J. Brown on a fly route on a 3rd and 15. What do you do with this offense? Where's the button that says go? Where's the red button that makes this offense go? Because we have not seen it recently.
So I think, the most concerning thing for me is the Eagles had 9 penalties for 78 yards. That's the first thing. And I don't know how you divide them up, offense to defense, but I would imagine that the lion's share of them occurred on the offensive side of the ball. The other thing is that the Eagles were 4 for 15 on 3rd down conversions, okay? That's just tonight. On the season, the Eagles ranked 28th in the National Football League at 34%. Now, when I played, our intent was always to hold offense to 33% or less. That's shut down defense. The reason why the offense can't perform at the level that it needs to perform at is because they can't sustain drives enough. Okay, let's just take a look, okay? First series, 6 plays, 8 yards, punt. 4 plays, 2 yards, field goal off the Jared Goff interception, okay? 4 plays, 22 yards, punt. 3 plays, 2 yards, punt. 3 plays, 0 yards, punt. 9 plays, 27 yards. How do you go 27 yards in 9 plays? That's another story, because wait till we get to the drive of the game. Jake Elliott hits a 34-yard field goal, okay? Then 10 plays, 64 yards. Jalen Hurts, caps it off with the touchdown. Let's go to the second half. 3 plays, 0 yards, punt. 5 plays, 44 yards, punt. You go 44 yards and still wind up punting, okay? I'm going to skip 10 because we'll get that one.
Not important right now. Not important right now.
No. The 11th possession. 4 plays, 22 yards, punt. 4 plays, 9 yards, turnover on down. No wonder the offense is struggling, because they cannot sustain drives, because they cannot convert 3rd downs. And it's a myriad of things. They either get behind the sticks on 1st and 2nd down and get in 3rd and long situations, or there's a pre-snap penalty that pushes them back, a holding penalty, 1st and 20, 2nd and 15. You can't come back from that until they iron that out. And until they can start to get into, 2nd and medium, where you can either run the ball and get 3 or 4 yards, and now you're short, 1 yard or 2 yards, and you go 2 tush pushes and convert a 3rd or a 4th down in that manner. Until they start to do that, man, this offense is going to continue to struggle. And it's not just this game. I could take you back last week against the Packers and show you the same information. But when you look at where they are, 34% of the time, they convert on 3rd downs. That's 28th out of 32 teams in the National Football League, and that simply is not good enough.
I agree with you 1,000%, but when I look at how they have arrived at this 8-2 record, they do just enough to get it done. They pick up a key 3rd down, a key 4th down. Jalen took off and ran and picked up a big 1st down in the second half of a game. AJ has not been needed the last several games. They've still won. When was the last time Devontae Smith was held to 1 catch in a game for 8 yards?
They knew still that was won. Coming. You knew that was coming today.
Yeah. And
after all that hubbub last week, you knew that was coming.
But they still won the game. This team, they find a way. One side is more dominant than the other. We know that right now, the defense. But the complete components complement each other so well. It could be Dallas Goedert getting 2 touchdowns in the game one day. Goedert didn't do much tonight. He had 2 catches for 24 yards. But he's going to have a big game somewhere down the road. It's always somebody different. You look at a lot of the good teams in the NFL, like a team like the Rams, a team like Green Bay. You know who they're going to go to in clutch situations. With this team, you don't know what's coming next. And it's inconsistent, yes, offensively, but they make necessary plays.
My other end of the spectrum that bothers me, D-Gun, because, I've been around the game long enough to know the odds are going to catch up with them sooner or later.
Sure.
There's going to be that game where the defense is going to struggle a little bit, and the offense that they play against is going to have success, okay? So while they're matching each other and, they complement each other right now, that game is down the road somewhere within the last 7 games where It's not going to work out that way. You're going to need the offense, to show up and show out because the defense is going to need rescuing. You have 3 phases to this game of football. And if you can win 2 out of the 3 phases, you're going to have success. Now, tonight, what happened? The defense played well. Jake Elliott with 3 field goals in the win, played well. We win the game, okay? There's going to come a point in time where the special teams or the defense is not going to step up and get it done, and we're going to need the offense to step up. And the way that they're playing, the way that they've played the last 2 weeks, specifically coming out of a bye, where you had time to self-scout and to make some changes and to get creative. It all looks the same. It looks like there is no advancement in what they're trying to do.
There's 3 games. I'm looking at the remaining 7 games. There's 3 games where they could really pad their stats. The Raiders and the 2 against Washington.
You said their stats?
Uh-huh.
Man, I don't care about their stats.
I'm talking about in terms of just putting on you're talking about getting offensive show right.
I get it.
Those are the 3 games.
I want them to have some consistency.
I don't see it.
In what they do, because when you get in the playoffs, that's what's required.
I don't see it.
I don't care about no stats. I don't even care that A.J. Brown got 11 targets tonight.
I don't either. But I'm saying, okay, let me ask you
By the way, season high in targets for A.J. Brown.
Let me ask you like this. Do you think offense is going to get it all together against Chicago the way Chicago's playing right now? No. You think they're going to go out to the West Coast?
But why not?
Because what we've seen so far in 10 games.
So,
I don't see it.
So
I just don't see it. You think they're going to go out to the West Coast and put up gaudy numbers against that Chargers defense?
I will tell you this, and I know that it scares the Eagles and it scares me, but I think the remedy to their offense is getting Jalen Hurts running the ball off the read option and the RPOs again. You have to mix it in there somewhere because the way that this offense is formatted, the way that they play now, it's not enough. It's not enough to keep defenses honest, okay? You don't gain the extra guy unless you run Jalen Hurts with the football. And I understand you want to keep him healthy. He's risk-averse in the pocket. He's not making a throw unless he believes that throw is there to be made. He's not trying to zip it in there. He's not trying to take a chance with the ball. He's risk-averse when he plays. But you heard Chris Collinsworth talk about it, and I've been talking about it since the beginning of the year. Where is the RPO? Where is the read option? The one read option that they had, the exchange between him and Saquon, they fumbled the ball. But when they get him running the football, I believe it opens up everything else. And I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts needs to run the ball 10 times a game. What I'm saying is you need to run him every once in a while just to make the defense think about the fact that you might run read option and RPO action off of that. Like, when was the last time we seen an RPO where Jalen faked the ball, took off around the end, and then threw the ball down the field? It's all either here and then throw it to A.J. Brown or nothing at all. But unless he starts to use his legs, okay, there's a portion of their offense that's just null and void. And in order to get the offense going, I think they need to implement that. And if they can do that and find a good mix between what they're doing now and what they normally do in their RPO and their read option action, I think that they'll find that consistency that they've been looking for.
Then the coaching staff needs to be asked, why are you not running more RPOs?
Because they're scared of getting Jalen Hurts.
And you saw what happened on the one run he took off on where he got hit on the sideline? You saw him get up a little slow, and everybody's like,
you got the first down slide.
You got the first down. Yeah, you got the first down.
It's the other one where he got hit.
The draw.
The draw. When Anzalone tried to dump him on his head.
Yeah.
You got the first down slide.
Yeah.
Slide, okay? Because you know what? He's not as nimble as he used to be. I think some of the hits have begun to take his toll. There was a time where he could stick the foot in the ground and fake a guy and cut back. No, man. We need you healthy. So get what you get. And when you're scrambling for a first down, the minute you cross that yellow line, slide. Get down. We don't need you to do anything else. If we want somebody to run the ball, we'll hand it off to Saquon and Tank.
All right. By the way, Jalen Hurts this year, 75% completion percentage on RPOs, 30 for 40 he has completed in those situations. Now, I believe there's a world record set in our chat. There you go. I believe there's a world record set in our chat, but we'll check with Bailey Livesey coming up in it. I think it's the most fire Patulos in succession in our chat this season. So it's a new record.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that chat. We're going to talk about what you guys are saying on social media when we come back. This is the Verizon post-game show on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel.
Hi, I got some work done with another surgeon. If I give you the bill, can you give me a better deal on a better face? Like this?
We're not doing that.
Well, at Verizon, anyone can bring in their AT&T or T-Mobile bill, and they'll give you a better deal on the best 5G network. Read my lips. You're not as cool as Verizon.
Guess not.
Hey, my eyes are up here.
Bring your AT&T or T-Mobile bill to Verizon for a better deal.
I miss turtlenecks.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging, our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. I do believe it is a season high in targets for A.J. Brown, season high in fire Patulos, I believe, in our chat.
And they're still coming in.
They're still piping hot, just like that. Let's go to our social media correspondent, Bailey Livesey, who has been monitoring the chat as well as social media. Take us in the deep, dark depths there of the chat and social media. Bailey, how are you? What are the good people talking about?
Well, Mark, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I feel like it's the same thing every single week. It's fire Patulo, the defense is carrying, and the offense is still struggling. Realistically, how long can the Eagles lean on the defense, and what is the risk in expecting that level of play every week from the defense?
Well, we did say in the pregame that we like the matchup of Vic Fangio versus now a new play caller for the Detroit Lions in Dan Campbell. I just did not expect this Eagles defense to hold them to 9 points. And I don't look, I respect Jared Goff. I think he's a good quarterback, but I think over the years in his career, which has been more than a minute now, he has certainly proven that if you can get to him, you can rattle his cage. And Seth, that was a repeating theme today. And it just being 1 week removed from acquiring Jalen Phillips, I think it was a perfect storm for him.
You know, we're going to hear what we're hearing because of all the talent that we have on the offensive side of the ball, for one. I don't believe that I'm not the guy that's in favor of, firing Kevin Patulo. I think we go too far sometime in Philly. Should the offense be performing at a higher level? Absolutely. Do they need to be a little more creative? Absolutely. But I think slowly but surely you'll begin to see that not only Kevin Patulo but Nick Sirriani will see and believe that they have to just run Jalen Hurts a little more to make this offense be what it is. Because listen, he did run the football last year. It's not like he didn't run it. I think him running the football also helps Saquon Barkley run the football. I think that's another reason why Saquon is having such an off year. When I said it last year, everybody thought that I was crazy. I said that Saquon's success comes from Jalen's success, and Jalen's success comes from Saquon's success. Because anytime that Jalen pulls the ball and takes off with it, now you've got to play. You got to factor that in. And that factoring that in means that defensive end has to stay right there where he is. When he stays where he is, even when you're in a heavy box, now that's one less guy that you have to worry about blocking. Now we're 7-on-7 or 6-on-6 every place else. Now we've got a chance to make something happen. But when Jalen's not running the ball, now that extra guy factors into the whole equation. And now that guy that comes into the box late, he's the free hitter. And that's the guy that's disrupting things. So getting Jalen Hurts going, I think will help Kevin call better plays and help the offense run more efficiently and more effectively.
They did run the ball 40 times. They ran the ball 40 times. Now, granted, Jalen had 10 carries for 31 yards, but they ran the ball 40 times for 148 yards.
There you go.
On a defense that was giving up less than 100 yards a game rushing. So, the numbers are somewhat skewed. They're not going to fire Kevin Petula. They're not going to do anything as long as this team is winning. Nobody's going to upset the apple cart at this particular point. No matter what we want in general, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You don't want Sirriani calling plays. There's a reason why he's not calling plays. So the onus is on Kevin Petula. Whether we like it or not, it's his offense. It's his offense. There's way too much money on this offense to be struggling and being as stagnant as his offense has been time and time again this season. Do they make big plays? Yep, occasionally. But in terms of that consistency you're looking for, that consistent measure that we're looking for the volume of talent and money associated with this offense, it's still not there through 10 games. And I don't know if it's going to be there for the remainder of the season, to be honest with you. There's a few games where they're gonna dominate opponents offensively. I said it, the Raiders and Washington twice. Those 3 games. But in terms of that consistent offensive level we want, I just don't think we're going to see it this season under the current regime.
And Bailey, yes, it is sustainable because this defense will continue to get better and better as the season goes along. Of course, we want more out of the offense. Offensively, I think, I'm going to give them a new nickname. This is the just enough offense. They get just enough done in order for us to win as long as the defense continues to play the way it is played. And it is sustainable because they are only going to get better.
Historically, we've seen defenses carry teams. 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens are arguably considered the best defense ever assembled in the National Football League. We saw the doomsday defense of Dallas years ago, the Steelers' steel curtain defense, the 49ers defense as well. So we've seen dominant defenses carry teams throughout the course of a season. I think that's the case. Yes, I'm with Seth. I agree. This defense is probably going to have to carry this team the entire season.
That's the way it looks right now until that offense does find its way. Bailey, what else do you have for us?
Well, this next question came directly from under Seth's social media post, and it says, not making excuses for Jalen, but how much does the win play any part of his inaccuracy in tonight's game? And I guess you can say for the offense in general with things such as the dropped balls, but your thoughts?
I've been accused on many occasions of, defending Jalen. And up until I want to say the last possession of the first half, Jalen Hurts was absolutely awful. I get it. It's cold, it's windy, so on and so forth. But, tonight's going to be one of those nights where I'm going to say, he didn't play well at all. And his play, in a lot of ways, is indefensible because he had guys open that he missed. He had opportunities that he didn't take. Now, listen, he did what he had to do when he had to do it. He always does, But when you talk about his inaccuracy and you talk about the misses that he had tonight, that's indefensible, It's indefensible when you think of some of the throws that he made and you look at the ones that he missed. I think Jalen Hurts' biggest issue is that, and Nick Sirianni and his staff bears some fault in this because coming off the 23 season where he had the 15 interceptions and the 6 lost fumbles, the following year, last year, the first 4 games, what they were trying to do is they were trying to mitigate the turnovers because the turnover was still coming throughout the first 4 games last year. They made the decision, okay, he's only going to throw the ball 23 times a game, and we're going to lean on Saquon. So now, and they talked to him about protecting the football. So now you've put him in protective mode. You've kind of put him in bubble wrap. Even though the play is there to be made, if it's not clear and concise for him, if the window's not wide open, he's not just turning it loose unless it's a deep ball down the field. He won't throw those tight window throws. And if he tries them, a lot of times they're inaccurate because he's afraid to just fire the ball where it needs to be, okay? So in a lot of ways, they need to take the bubble wrap off. They need to put him out there and say, hey, just play, okay? Just play. If we turn the ball over, we turn the ball over a time or two. But guess what? We got a defense that's coming that can make the difference. But that protective kind of football that he plays I think that has a lot to do with the passing inefficiencies that we have because he's just afraid to cut the ball loose. The only ones that you see him really throw with any kind of confidence, the slant to AJ, and sometimes those are inaccurate, or the deep ball down the field. He'll let those go, and he don't care. He don't care. He'll let those go because he feels like if the receiver can't get it, the receiver's going to knock it down. But the plays across the middle, he's afraid to let them go. He's afraid to get them tipped and intercepted. Those routes on the outside against the Giants, he threw an out route. They got picked off and almost returned for a touchdown. But you can't play the game from a position of fear. You have to just go out and play and hope that you make the right decisions and play with the right type of confidence.
Those things are dissected on film during practice. Those things are talked about among the quarterback coach, the offensive coordinator, the head coach. It has been constantly discussed all season long, yet when they transition to the field on a football game, he plays his game. Not the game the coaches want him to play. He plays his game. I don't think you can get him out of that mode at this particular point. I think is what we're going to have to watch all season long is him playing his game. You know, you look at a lot of quarterbacks, they're going to sling it. They're going to try to throw it through an eye of a needle. Sometimes you just have to take that chance. That's not his game. That's why he stands back there. A lot of times he's patting the ball, and it throws the timing of the offense off. The rhythm is thrown off. I don't think at this point they can't get him out of it. It's frustrating in a lot of ways to the coaching staff and to the players. Extremely frustrating to the players because when they look at the film the next day or a few days later, they see what's available out there and what should have happened, and it didn't happen. It's frustrating to them as well.
Mm-hmm. There was one play in particular, too, with Jalen today, actually. One was he was patting the ball in the pocket for a long time, and we were waiting to see the coverage. They did show the coverage. Jahad Dotson open, top of the screen. You can see it wide open for Jalen. No play was made. The other was the sack for 11 yards. He had, I think it was Saquon Barkley leaking out. Mm-hmm. But Seth, to your point, and I agree with this, the worst thing is an interception is a turnover in Jalen's mind, and that should be in the mind of a lot of quarterbacks. But when the play is there, make the play. Now, I will say in Jalen's defense on this, the first drive of the game, there's 3 drops, right, in the hands of receivers on back-to-back plays as well. So if you get those plays off, if those guys make those plays, make those catches, maybe we're talking about the different game, ripple effect throughout the rest of the game. But no, certainly far from perfect today, no doubt. Bailey, what else do you have?
I mean, Mark, I couldn't even ignore the Fire Patullo comments, even if I tried. It is constantly... When I update it, it's just refresh, Fire Patullo. So, I mean, how much of the offense being out of sync and inconsistent does fall on the coaching staff?
All right. I don't think Kevin Patullo is particularly good at his job. Now, I will also say this. The offensive line has been very questionable throughout the season, mostly in the run game, unfortunately. But at some point, especially during a bye week, for instance, you got to find a way to unlock this offense. You got to find a way to crack the code. I don't think Kevin Patullo is that guy to crack that code. So you have a former, granted, college level, but you have a former quarterback in Scott Loeffler who has worked with some pretty good quarterbacks. You also have a guy that has been a head coach at the college level. I mean, he can't be worse than Kevin Patullo is at calling plays. And then I'll also say this, and this might be an unpopular question, but I think it deserves to be asked. I know he's a deity, and I love the guy and respect him. Where is Jeff Stoutland in all this? Run game coordinator? That's also his title. Is that just a fancy title they gave him to make him feel good? Or is he just an offensive line coach and that's it?
His title was efficient last year, wasn't it?
Pretty efficient, yes.
Rusher. You know, you have the same offensive line back, minus, Mekhi Becton. Mm-hmm. You have the same offensive personnel back. I just think it's the way teams are scheming them, But you have to have point counterpoint. You have to find a way to counterpoint. And Jeff Stoutland is considered one of the best O-line coaches in all of the National Football League. I'm surprised at this point that he hasn't found a way to counter what defenses are doing to him in terms of stagnating his running attack. People talk about Fire Patullo for his play calling, but I want to know, is it the play calling more so than Jalen not running efficiently what is called, or just how much we blame Jalen to a certain degree, but is there more blame to put on the quarterback? Is it the actual play itself, or is the quarterback audibling more than we know?
Right.
Is he not, whatever they practice, he gets into a game and just goes blank and doesn't go through his progressions? How much is it to play? And I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here defending Patullo by any stretch of the imagination.
It sounded like for a second.
No. I'm not about to defend the Patullo, but I'm just curious to the point of how much what is practiced is not does not carry over to the game in terms of the quarterback executing what they spend 3 or 4 days practicing leading up to the next game?
You know, I'm going to ask you guys a question, okay? I've had bosses in every field that I've worked in. You guys have had bosses too, okay? When your boss gives you a directive, okay, and he's telling you that this is what's required in order for you to get paid in the job that you do, don't you follow those directives?
Some do.
No.
Some do.
No, because
not in this case.
No, well, I mean, see, therein lies the problem. Okay, because if Andy Reid told Jalen to run a certain thing a certain way, you can bet your ass he'd run it a certain way. Okay, if Sean Payton told him to run it a certain way and do a certain thing, you can bet your behind that he would run it that way. Okay, so what's the overriding factor here? You know, when you want to talk about the coaches are telling him to do it a specific way or run the offense a specific way, but he makes the decision to run it his way, is he the coach or is he the player? And I don't give a damn how much.
Could be both.
No, I don't give a damn how much money you're making, okay? At the end of the day, the coach is the coach. The coach is the one that puts together the game plan. The coach is the one that spends 15, 16 hours a day studying everything and saying, okay, this is what we need to do to defeat this team. So when the coach is giving you the play, you run the damn play. You run the offense the way that the coach sets it up to be played. And if that's not the case, then no wonder they got problems. Because they're off as far as the authority chain is concerned, okay? I would never call a timeout and come to the sideline and tell Buddy, hey, no, we're not going to run that. I think we ought to run this. Are you serious? You can go sit your ass over here. That's what you can do, okay? And any time that we talked about it in the pregame, last week, the change of the play on the 4th down, okay? That's insubordination to me. When the coach sends a play in and you decide to go rogue and nobody else know what the hell you doing, so 2 players are doing one thing and 10 other players are doing something totally, or 9 other players are doing something completely different, okay? That's insubordination, okay? Find their ass when they don't do things the right way, when they don't do what they're told to do, or tell him while you're in his ear, run the play that I call, okay? Don't check out of it. Coaches do that all the time. But you're going to give a guy free reign to do whatever he wants to do? No wonder the offense doesn't work if that's the case. And I'm just saying if that's the case. And then I'm going to give you a second because I'm not
saying anything.
I know you want to rebut, okay?
No,
I know you want to rebut. But to answer Bailey's questions, it's a confluence of everything, okay? If Jalen is doing what he wants instead of what the coaches wants, that's a problem that only Nick Sirriani can fix. Only him and Howie Roseman can fix that problem, okay? Because if he has that much power to do whatever he wants to do and the head coach ain't going to say nothing about it, guess what? It's only going to get worse. And guess what? It's going to have an effect on his teammates and how they view him as a leader. That can't happen. When they begin to lose respect for him, then they're not going to do the job that they're supposed to do because the guy that's supposed to be leading them isn't doing what he's supposed to do, okay? Offensively, from a play calling standpoint, there's nothing magical, creative, or earth-shattering about what they call. It just isn't. That shouldn't be the case. If you're an NFL offensive coordinator and you hold that position, you're talking about coaching the best in the world. You should be able to make adjustments on the fly. You heard Vic Fangio weeks ago, Mark, say, you know what, halftime adjustments, that's a fallacy. Because if you can't make adjustments in game while the game is going on, you've already lost the game. And then lastly, the players have to get it done. If you're hurt, that's one thing. Suck it up. Get the job done. If you're injured, get your ass out of the game. Because if you're injured, that means that you can't play at the level that you need to play at to be helpful. Okay? It's a confluence of things. It's not just one thing, Bailey. It's not just one. There is no magical fix. All of these things have to come together. And if they don't come together, this is what you get.
If you want to send a message to a certain player, you should bench him. They're not going to bench a $250 million quarterback while they're racing to the finish line to maintain that number 1 seed. In a lot of ways, Jalen has this team over the barrel. They owe him a lot of money. Okay? You're not going to bench him. You're sitting at 8-2, and you're the king of the hill right now trying to defend your throne. It's not going to happen in terms of sitting. I would sit him at least a quarter. Remember one time Donovan got sat down?
So in
got down for a half?
in other words,
I'm just telling you, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
In other words,
not going to happen.
What you're intimating is what you're saying is factual,
yes.
100% factual.
Yes, not going to happen.
So then the Eagles find themselves in a similar situation with Carson Wentz all over again. Yes. Because half the team didn't like Carson because he thought he was better than everybody else. You know, he wanted to do things his way, and he did it his way, and it ultimately got him out of here. So if Jalen Hurts didn't learn anything from that scenario, that guess what? You're replaceable. If Howie would eat the contract of Carson Wentz to give you the starting job and you didn't learn anything from that, if this is true, then you're a problem. And what you're going to find out, is that when the Eagles have the ability to move on, they're going to move on. And guess what they're going to do to the other 31 teams? They're going to tell them why they're moving on, okay? Now your opportunity to move on to somewhere else. So what he's doing is he's cutting his own career throat.
There you go.
If that's 100% true,
there you go.
Then I got a problem with that.
There you go. I'm just basically telling you there's a lot of people in that organization that are frustrated with the quarterback situation right now, but the quarterback understands he has them over a barrel. This is almost Carson Wentz part 2. They're not going to eat this kind of money yet. There's no way they're going to eat this kind of money. Look at the cap hit they took when they got rid of Carson, and look, it took them a couple of years to get back on solid ground again, footing, because they were handcuffed financially because of what they owed in the cap hit they took with Carson Wentz. You got the same scenario here with a bigger volume of money involved here.
Well, I'll say this. If you're Jalen Hurts, you've been in 2 Super Bowls, you got a Super Bowl championship and a Super Bowl MVP in your back pocket, I'm telling Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, and Nick Sirianni to enjoy that barrel, because I ain't taking you over it anytime soon. Or off it, rather, anytime soon.
Seth, have you ever known me, and Mark, I asked you too, because I've worked with you a long time. Have you ever known me to put something out there that wasn't true?
No, you're not someone that throws it against the wall to see if it sticks.
And a lot of times, what do I tell you guys? I can tell you something, but I can't tell you something.
I'll tell you what, man, listen, D-Gun, I love the kid.
Yep.
But if what you're telling me is true,
I ain't tell you anything yet.
I know you haven't told me all of it. You know, I get that. But what you're intimating is things that destroys teams and organizations.
But that's what
I don't like that.
But that's what we were talking about on the pregame show. When you look at the numbers, they're the worst team in the league at 3-and-outs. Outside of maybe 2 games, they're constantly outgained by the opponent in terms of yards. They're not a consistent team on offense. The defense, as good as it is, it's an opportunistic defense. It's made big plays when it's had to. The offense makes the necessary run or the necessary throw when it has to. There's no fluidity to it. And yet they're 8-2. I've never seen anything like this. There's trouble in Whoville. But right now, because everything is Camelot, because they're winning, it's going to stay the course.
Oh, like I said,
it's going to stay the course.
Like I said, they're good enough.
Yes.
It's crazy as crazy as it is. They are good enough to get back to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
As they're outfitted at the moment. Now, whether that takes on a whole different look once they get there, that's a whole nother ball of wax. But this team is good enough to get the number 1 seed.
Absolutely.
And to get back to the Super Bowl again this year. Like, how explosive, how good, how dominant could you be if you would just put your pride aside and do what's best for the football team? If what you're saying is true, because I've always been a team guy. You know, I've had some instances where I said some things that wasn't team-like, you know, and throughout my time I've gone back and I apologized to those people, you know, for those things that I said and I did. But in order for you to win, it takes a team to win. And the only way that the team operates is that everybody trusts. You're on the same page, and you trust the unmitigated leader. The unmitigated leader of this football team has to be the quarterback. It has to be, you know. And he's got to lead by example by doing what he's been asked to do so that everybody else toes the line. But if he's out there free-willing and doing what he wants to do and thinks that he knows best, at some point in time that's going to bite him. and it's going to cost him in his career. He's only in his 5th year. He's still a young quarterback. That contract that he just signed, don't be stupid. You can get another one. But don't bite the hand that feeds you.
All right. Bailey, thank you very much. Appreciate the questions as per usual and keeping us up to date on what's going on social media and the chat as well. Bailey Livesey, thank you so much, our social media correspondent. When we come back, we hope to hear from Nick Sirriani. We also hope to hear from Jalen Hurts himself after this game. When we come back, talk a little bit more about that Eagles defense and what they had going for them today. That's when we return on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel here on the Verizon Postgame Show.
Picture this. You play big-time college football, you get some NIL money. You get drafted in the NFL, and you start making real big money. However, you're 23 years old and you don't have any credit. Here at Mid-Penn Bank, we're helping these athletes establish credit through secured credit cards and other strategies that can help develop their credit now, so as they continue to make money, they can have long-term success financially.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Recovery Unplugged. Before we go any further, let's talk about our drive of the game. Seth, you were so patient to not use this one earlier when you were breaking down the drives and possessions and whatnot. But how about this drive? Philadelphia Eagles cap off an 11-play, 25-yard drive, that is not a typo, with a 49-yard field goal from Jake Elliott to give them a 16-6 lead. That made it a 10-point game, helped put some icing on the cake there for the Eagles from the end of the third to the beginning of the fourth quarter. It wasn't much, but it was just enough. And I think that's what you're calling this offense now, Seth, the just enough offense.
It is a just enough offense. They ran 11 plays, D-Gun.
For 27 yards.
2.2 yards a play.
Yes. They got 3 points out of them on a 49-yard field goal.
I'm going to let you have the rest of this.
Well, I mean, where else would you go? What other drive of the game would you have? That was it.
Yep.
That was it from this offense tonight, okay? I mean, you look at the third down conversion. You look at the total yards. I still can't get over it. That falls under the category of what I've been talking about. I don't understand how they're doing this. I really don't. Outside of the defense keeping them in games and winning games for them, I don't know how they're doing this. This is fascinating to me. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see what they do down in Dallas. I really can't. Mm-hmm. Because that's a division game. Dallas defense is a sieve, but they rack up points at home. Except Arizona just held them to 17 points at home. Of all teams, Arizona held them to 17 points. So that's why I can't wait to see what this game is going to look like down in Dallas next between these two teams. I expect us to be sitting here again talking about some unique concept or some divisive way that they found a way to win another football game to get to 9-2. Mm-hmm. It's just the way the season has gone.
I will say one of the key plays on that drive was the 3rd and 11. Jalen scrambled to his right, found A.J. Brown downfield, but they ended up getting the first down automatically anyway on that play due to defensive holding on Robertson there for the Lions. But Seth, you talked about this a couple of times already. You mentioned it, but I want to go a little bit more in depth with this, and it has to do with the defense. Just continuing to get better and better. Now, we talked about personnel coming back and Nico Dean coming back, Nolan Smith coming back, also adding Brandon Graham into the mix, and then, of course, the cherry on top, which was Jalen Phillips. If you're Vic Fangio, what do you want to see more of from your defense from this point forward?
Listen, every game begins with the running game. You know, they got to continue to get better. They came into this game on defense. They were ranked 19th, giving up 118 yards per game. And I believe today, give me one sec. I believe today they held the Lions to 74 yards on 21 carries for 3.5 yards per carry. That's good defense. I think that's what allows you, that's what earns you the right to rush the passer. You know, every defensive coordinator will say that. Any defensive-minded person who understands the game, you got to make the opponent one-sided. They got to continue to get better at that. 118 yards a game, that's too many yards. But I get the sense that those numbers will continue to drop because they've been playing better and better each and every week. And I think as they continue to get better against the run, that will free them up to be able to get after the passer, get more pressure on the passer, creating more turnovers. That's the one area where I think that they could improve. Like they had this period early in the year where they were averaging something like 2-3 turnovers a game, D-Gun, and I know they come in bunches, and then all of a sudden it just went dormant. You know, now they're probably averaging maybe 1 turnover a game. I think they had an interception today, and that was about it. They've got to turn the ball over more because this offense doesn't convert third downs enough to sustain drives. And they did a great job today because I count, you know, turnover on downs as turnovers. So in actuality, they created 6 or 7 turnovers today. The offense only converted 3 points off of all of those turnovers on downs. That can't be.
One thing I do want to point out, we haven't talked about this enough, it was one of the last two of the 3 last possessions there by the Detroit Lions. I just want to highlight Nico Dean here, who all of a sudden found himself deep in coverage on Jahmyr Gibbs, helped break up that play. Then another play down the field, he's also in on, I think it might have been on Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe down the sideline. He helps break that play up. Next play, he gets the sack where he just uses David Montgomery like a rag doll and throws him into Jared Goff. All right, now more on this game. We're going to hear from Nick Sirriani at the link right now.
Awesome. Those are turnovers in our mind. And really, really good coverage and rush together. Aggressive play by the front, good matching in the secondary. It's a good football team. And to be able to go, what was it?
4 for 5.
Able to be, 5 for 5 the way we look at it. Outstanding.
Does that influence the way you make some of the decisions, in particular the fourth and one, Tush push, when you know that you have the defense playing pretty well?
The defense played awesome. I got a ton of confidence in my guys, in our guys to go out and execute. Obviously, I'm going to be second guessing myself about the fourth and 1 in our own territory there. But awesome job by the defense holding them to 3 there. We got about half of it the play before. I thought we could get the other half right there. We didn't. So I have to live with that. When we don't execute on 4th down, I again have a ton of confidence in our guys to be able to do so. If you don't have the confidence, I don't care what numbers say what, you don't go for it there. But I had a lot of confidence and it didn't work. So anytime it doesn't work in a 4th down situation, I'm always going to be hypercritical of myself because it's on me making that decision. And I'll go back and look at it. Hey, it didn't work. So obviously when I'm sitting here right now, I'm like, I should have punted it there. If it works, you're able to either drain their timeouts there or take another 2 minutes off the clock. But in that case, it didn't work, and I gave him a short field right there, so that's 100% on me.
What do you think of
Adori Jackson's play and how he's approached that spot throughout the season?
Yeah, obviously that was it a fourth down or a third down where we had the big stop, where he had the big third down and then they punted after that. Yeah, huge play there. Felt like he was sticky in coverage this evening. Obviously, I love when guys have the mental toughness to give up, when they give up a play to come back and continue to fight. That just speaks a lot of the character of the person and the character of the team. So to be able to, obviously Jameson Williams is a phenomenal football player, explosive. They got a lot of good players over there, And, he makes that play and then goes for a touchdown. And then I felt like Adori really had a good game, after that, to be able to put it in the past and execute when we needed him the most.
The defensive front as a whole, Jalen Phillips, your second game with him, seems like everything is kind of clicked together. Jordan Davis with the batted balls, the pass rush as a whole. Just that group, did that set the tone for this game?
I think so. We were able to get some early pressure on him and get some hits on him. Those are always going to affect quarterbacks, so we did a really good job there as a defensive front. I think that's 2 games, actually 3 games in a row where it's been humming up front. We like to play that way, right? Being led by our offense and defensive line. Excuse me. Those bat downs were really, really impressive, but not surprising to us because that's what practice looked like and has been looking like. And so practice is a great indicator of what the game's going to look like. And our defense in practice, the energy, speaking of the bat downs, the crushing of blocks, we just did a really nice job there tonight.
From an offensive perspective, how kind of demoralizing can it be when balls get batted down like that?
Yeah. Very, very, because you could have the right play called, everything could go right, and then it gets knocked down before you get into the execution of it. So I think that's a really good observation, Dave, and it's a little demoralizing when that happens because everything can go right, and the guy gets his hands, doesn't get free on a rush, but times it up, and knocks it down. Being in obviously before I came here, being in the AFC South with J.J. Watt, that was always, man, he'd had a knack for that. He had a knack for that, and it was always demoralizing when he got it. And I remember him always doing this when he would get it, and just I had a ton of respect for him. And it always was like, man, we had a play there, and it didn't happen. The play stopped before it even got going. So it can be super demoralizing, but awesome job by our guys. Clint Hurt, man, he's a great coach, helping those guys be able to do that, and then all the credit goes to those guys that are able to get their hands on those. I think we look at PBUs sometimes, and we put that in the stat. Q had a couple nice ones tonight. Adori had the nice one, but when those defensive men are able to get it, it's pretty cool.
That was the only team on their schedule that voted not to ban the tush push.
Respect.
And they stopped. Yeah, I was just going to ask if you give respect for them for not voting to ban them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they did a good job tonight. Obviously, they had a good plan. They went and tried to find a way to stop it, and they did a good job stopping it tonight. Now we had a couple that we were good. The one in the red zone, but they did a good job on that tonight. So respect to them and credit to them on that.
To kind of follow up on that, you guys have said for years now you want to be aggressive in those situations, in 4th and short, and obviously you have the tush push. When does that philosophy run into context where lane's not in the game? It hasn't been automatic tonight, and how does that factor into your decision? Just generally speaking.
Always. You always think about those things. Again, if we would have got pushed back, I'm assuming you're speaking of the 4th down one that we didn't get. If we would have got pushed back there and not moved the ball forward, because it was a full one. I felt like we moved it to about half a one, and then just didn't get enough on that next one. Again, you got to give them a lot of credit right there. But I do have utmost, you think about how it plays in game, but you also think about your past experiences. Everything's taken into account. But you definitely, Mike, you definitely think about how it's playing in game. I felt like it just wasn't, we had the one false start, and so you had the one in the red zone. We had the false start early, what they called, and then we had the one in the red zone that we got great push, and then we got about half of it on the 4th down one, and then we just weren't successful on the other one. Again, anytime we don't get a 4th down conversion, I'm always going to put that on myself. I'm always going to be hypercritical of myself, and obviously, had I known we wouldn't get it, I would have punted it. But obviously, the game's not played that way, and have a ton of confidence in it. But we'll go back and see what happened and why it happened.
Did you get an explanation on the on why it was a false start on Tyler Steen instead of a neutral zone?
Yeah, when I thought that the guy got himself into the neutral zone off of a hard count, and I guess he was lined up there initially. Which would have ended up being a penalty had we snapped it. But we reacted there. You know what? In that scenario, and we ended up having to punt on 4th and 6. In that scenario, I'm not sure I prepared Tyler the best I could possibly prepare him for. Again, I thought that he jumped in there, but he was apparently lined up in there. And if he's lined up in there, and then you reach out and touch him, which we anytime there's a false start or an offsides, we teach our guys to reach out and touch. We had one last week, if you remember, but he didn't get into the neutral zone, and we ended up getting a penalty on it. We're hyper aggressive with that to try to get the free 5 yards, but I didn't realize, again, I don't think I prepared Tyler well enough, or Tyler may not have seen him in the neutral zone to begin with, because I don't ever recall going over that rule with him, that if he's in the neutral zone and then you react, then that's a false start on us. So I don't think I did a good enough job preparing him in that scenario.
Nick Sirriani addressing the media there at Lincoln Financial Field. That was one interesting play that I know we raised our eyebrows when it came to that. What looked like encroachment, neutral zone infraction. Tyler Steen ended up reaching out to touch the defensive lineman there of the Detroit Lions, and we were baffled. And even the in-game official we heard on NBC, he was baffled by it as well. What is the process there, and how should that have been called?
Well, I think the way that Nick Sirianni is explaining it is that you just have to run the play and let the referee make the determination whether he was in the neutral zone. I think what Tyler Steen was looking at was the guy was in the neutral zone, so he just reached over and touched him, thinking that hey, he's in the neutral zone, we'll get the 5 yards. But apparently it doesn't work that way. The referee should have seen it, but the referee normally won't call a neutral zone infraction or an offsides, unless it happens during the play. That way they can let the play out, and if it's an incomplete pass or they don't get the first down, then they award them the 5 yards for being offsides or being in the neutral zone. So I think that's kind of what Nick was talking about. But my goodness, if you've had conversations about if guys get in the neutral zone physically, if they physically moved in the neutral zone to go ahead and reach out and touch them, you mean to tell me that all these years you never had a conversation with your guys about if the guy lines up in the neutral zone?
The more common play is an edge rusher going over the line, and then the tackle all of a sudden just hits him in the shoulder. We see that more often than not. This was the same type of principle applied, but for whatever reason it wasn't called that way. No,
I think what happens is if you line up offsides, they're going to let the play go.
Okay.
If you jump into the neutral zone, then the offense has the option to reach out and touch you in the neutral zone. They're going to whistle it dead. They're going to give you the 5 yards, and you move on.
Fair enough. All right, now I know there was a bunch of injuries in this game. We're going to get to that coming up in a second with Dr. Bruce Grossinger when he joins us. We will get to that and more when we return on the Verizon postgame show.
There's a number on the screen.
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 There is a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen.
There's a number on the screen. There's a number on the screen.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
Hi, got this old thing and the bill from the store where I got it. Figured you could beat it with a better deal than one of these big boys.
That doesn't work that way.
Well, at Verizon, anyone can bring in their AT&T or T-Mobile bill and they'll give you a better deal.
I thought Verizon was pricey.
No, better deal, best 5G network. Back to the TV. Does it come higher than 8K? Because I don't like to squint.
Ma'am, take your TV and go.
Bring your AT&T or T-Mobile bill to Verizon for a better deal.
Guess you're not as cool as Verizon.
You don't know that?
This upcoming segment brought to you by Weber Display and Packaging. Dr. Bruce Grossinger is standing by. We're going to go to him in 1 second. But as per usual, before the season of giving, we're already in the spirit of giving. And we have a Brian Dawkins jersey I think we'd like to give away here, Seth, for some good people in the chat, good people on social media as well.
Yes, sir. It looks like Fetty Wells TV is our winner. I would like for you to send me your mailing address and we'll get the jersey out to you. Congratulations. Make sure you guys tune in the subsequent weeks. We got more jerseys, tickets, and helmets and balls that will be given away throughout the, last 7 weeks of the season, right on through the playoffs.
You know what, Mark?
Well, what's that?
We've worked with Seth now 2 seasons, right?
Yes, sir.
I think we should both have Seth Joyner jerseys in our collection. What do you think?
All right.
How old are you?
Old enough. What?
You too old to be wearing the throwback jersey.
I don't wear them. I have them up.
Oh,
I don't wear I've never worn a jersey to an event in my life.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
Don't be insinuating here.
Because you're not going to catch me wearing no jersey.
I've never worn, I can say baseball, basketball,
You wear
football.
throwback jerseys?
I have a rule. I won't wear a jersey of anyone I'm older than. So that's my own rule.
I don't wear jerseys, period.
Yeah.
I can't see myself wearing a jersey to a game.
So no spoiler alert, but I would still wear yours, Seth. You have one or two on me. You have one or two on me.
That's a nice little dig.
That's not breaking news.
D-Gun, I never knew that you admired me that much. You want to take my jersey, put it in the box, and put it up in your man cave?
I'll put it up there, man. Yeah, absolutely.
As a reminder of? As a reminder of?
You antagonize the hell out of me for you.
Well, all right. Unfortunately, a couple of injuries here for the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's talk to the good doctor himself, Dr. Bruce Grossinger. Doc, I'll start you off with Lane Johnson. Was an ankle last time that he battled to come back into the Green Bay Packers game. This time a foot injury. What's going on with Lane?
They haven't disclosed the exact nature of the foot injury, but, obviously the two are related. I believe x-rays were done. There was no fractures. So you have to think of a foot strain. You always fear a Liz Frank injury, which is a injury of the midfoot. And Lane's been, obviously having problems with the whole kinetic chain, really, with respect to his knee, ankle, and foot. And so he went out early in the game, and he was replaced by Fred Johnson, who seemed to be okay. Obviously, you discussed a lot of the problems with the offense. But we're going to be waiting on Lane Johnson.
Okay, we'll get some information on that again in a second, and also Cam Jurgens. But right now, Jalen Hurts is stepping to the podium.
And you see it out there today, all those guys making plays, defense playing lights out, defense playing lights out. One of the best performances I've ever seen. So really, really big-time game on that side of the ball. To be able to do what they did on 4th down against a really good offense, a potent offense that's capable of doing really, really special things. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Is that part of Nick's messaging? Focusing on the turnover, winning the turnover battle, and not trying to do too much outside, your job. Is that messaging relayed in winning these types of games, these gritty games?
That's always a philosophical staple in And what he believes. It's always been that. It's been that over the years, and we've lost some games when we've lost the turnover battle. Some games have been closer than what they've needed to be because of that. But usually you look at that as one of the key factors, and it's held true.
Hutchinson said this week that he had this game, the Lions had this game circled on their calendar for a while. Last week, a couple of the Packers said, like, jokingly, they need to get their lick back. Do you feel like teams are giving you their best shot just because of what you guys have accomplished?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what more do you expect? You know, that's exactly how it's going to be. You know, it's, when you accomplish the things that you've accomplished, everybody wants to take your place, and we just got to continue to improve so we can maintain where we are.
AJ had 11 targets tonight. Was there more conscious effort maybe to get him involved early and keep trying to feed him the football?
Yeah, just going with the flow of the game and how it was called and trying to go out there and execute.
So there wasn't like an effort to get him the football?
That may be a KP question.
With all the passes defended by the defense on the line, just from a quarterback's perspective, how does that disrupt an offense and how demoralizing can that be personally?
Say that again?
With all the passes defended by Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, just from a quarterback's perspective, how disruptive can that be?
Very disruptive, and it's something that you see them do often in practice. They're very skillful. They kind of got a knack for when the rushes kind of come to a halt and being able to jump up and time it up and make a play on the ball. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Carter catches one of them here soon.
You talked about, the defense trying to have the knack of finding a way to win. You've kind of done that yourself with this offense during your time. Do you think that they pull that energy from you as well?
That's not something that I could take ownership for. I just try and, lead with an example and bring a certain level of energy to it, but it's just a mentality thing, and I think you have to have a level of grittiness to see things through and figure things out. And, in a game like tonight, they played lights out, and they held things down. So we just got to continue to improve so we can elevate the level of complementary football we play. When I look at 5 stops on 4th down, as an offense, we've got to be able to capitalize on some of those, on all of those opportunities in short fields and when the defense is playing like that. So that's an area of growth for us.
Jalen, they were really good defending the Tush push tonight. Not perfect, obviously, but they had a little more success on it than most of your guys have said. Are you guys finding generally more difficult to run the play, or were they doing something tonight that made it a little more challenging?
Nah, I have to watch the film and really be able to answer that question. But I got to get a good push off the ball and got to drive a bit. And they're honing in on it. Very, very, very strict on the guard and the center and how they operate, and they got their eyes on it. So we just got to be as clean as possible and then go out there and find ways to convert it.
What are your main takeaways from the offensive performance tonight?
My main takeaways is we got to score points. We got to be more efficient. We got to take advantage of opportunities when they're there. And we got to control the things that we can control. It's the same MO it's been this whole entire time.
Jalen, how much do you feel like the last two?
Addressing the media right there. One of the things that did stick out to me there, he called that defensive performance one of the best he has ever seen. We will highlight that more, but we want to get back to some of these injuries here. We just talked about Lane Johnson. Doc, let's revisit the Lane Johnson situation right now. Again, leaving this game with a foot injury. We don't have too much information on it. Any more info with Lane?
I haven't heard anything more, and I've checked a lot of the usual wire services. So, he's a guy who's battled back a lot. And obviously he's been playing the game a long time, and he was deemed questionable. And I attended the game today. I was kind of waiting to see if he came back. If you remember last week, we had some issues because he was carted off and came back, and that might not have been a wise decision. So now, again, he had a foot injury. Now, tonight was a foot injury. So I think he's really developing cumulative injuries. And we're going to hear more about it. Obviously, tomorrow he's going to get X-rays, maybe an MRI.
Doc, I know it's speculation, but, as far as Lane is concerned, do you think if it was an ankle last week and a foot this week that there's some correlation? And I heard you say that it probably wasn't smart for him to come back last week. What's the potential for the intelligent move of having him play this week? Now, obviously, he practiced all week, so I guess if you practice the entire week in your full practice, you're going to play. But I wonder at what level of practice, he practiced and what the long-term effect that may be.
No, I share your concerns, and the fact is Fred Johnson's able-bodied. Next week you're going away to Dallas, 4 o'clock game. Again, it's a fast field and it's a physical. Dallas is going to come at you hard, so it might be wise to let him really heal up over this next week instead of rushing it back again. We don't know the nature of the foot injuries. There are certain foot injuries that do take longer to heal, such as the Liz Frank. I think of the Deuce Staley foot injury. He's a classic guy with Liz Frank. So I think they have to be very careful. They should look at an MRI. He should get some therapy. But I think when you have, and similarly Cam Jurgens, it's the same kind of thing. Both of these guys have cumulative injuries. They've been battling injuries. And I think that they have to be very careful, Seth.
Same thing with Cam, because Cam started after being, on the shelf for quite a few weeks, and then I saw in the fourth quarter he went to the locker room. Any word on whether it was the knee again, or is it still some of the lingering effects of the lower back?
I'm just looking now at Yahoo Sports, just in the present after the game, and it appears that this is the same knee. And going into the game, I think it was questionable whether he was going to start the game. I actually saw him, play the game, and then he went out. So I think it's similar, actually, that Cam has the same injury. It's an inflammation. It's a strain, and he went for a re-exam in the tent in the fourth quarter. So it's these two. It's somewhat parallel, actually, to the discussion about Lane Johnson. They really have to make sure he's back, and I had some concern that he was starting the game tonight, and it was really cold and really windy. Obviously, I can tell you that from firsthand.
Dr. Bruce Grossi, we appreciate you helping us out with all these injuries as per usual. Look forward to following it with you throughout the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Dr. Bruce Grossi right there. Go ahead.
I just want to touch on it because, it's fresh. We interrupted the doc to go to it. I heard Jalen Hurts talking a lot about the defense in the press conference, and I wonder why the questioning didn't evolve around, the lackluster performance of the offensive side of the ball and so much the defense. And I know we don't carry the entire, press conference, but if I'm in that room and I'm asking Nick Sirriani and I'm asking Jalen Hurts questions about tonight's game, I want to know what the hell happened to the offense.
Well, you heard Jalen tell you, when we were snickering, when he said, that might be a Kevin Petullo question.
Well,
so he answered that question real quick.
There was that, and then unfortunately there wasn't much adding to it. And the adding to it was, now tell me if you agree, because this is what I got out of Jalen. Offense should score more points. Gentlemen, agree, disagree?
I never thought of that one. Let me
How about this one?
Put that down.
On the same line as that, the offense should be more efficient. Seth, your thought?
See, they would never give me a press pass. Because they'd probably kick me out after the first two questions.
Oh, they would.
Oh,
they definitely would.
I need you to get a press pass.
Yes, they would.
You ask the question. You ask the question that everybody's wondering. You don't get to, skirt that, Nick. You don't get to skirt that, Jalen. If you want to jump on AJ because of his comments and, ride him like a rented horse for a whole week leading into this game and then go out and put that product out on the offensive side of the ball on the field, then you deserve, McManus and McClain need to drill both of their asses the same way they drilled Nick last week over the whole AJ Brown thing.
Mm-hmm. At 4th and 6, yeah. Exactly. All right, we'll give you our final thoughts on this victory for the Philadelphia Eagles, 16-9 over the Detroit Lions. All that and more when we return. This is the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel and the Verizon postgame show.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Mid-Penn Bank. Your Philadelphia Eagles now 8-2 on the season, just coming off this win against the Detroit Lions. Of course, Dallas Cowboys next on the schedule in Dallas Sunday. That's a 4:25 game in Dallas, so we'll be with you guys for that one. When you think about your takeaways from this win over the Lions, Derek Gunn, I'll ask you first. What's your takeaway from this one?
They won. Despite the
Who
fact,
are you, Jalen?
Hey, let me. In the immortal words of Jalen, you know, Mark, that might be a Kevin Petula question. But, hey, look, they won the game. The bottom line. I don't care how you do it, you win the game. If they were losing the game, we'd be burying this team. We're still burying the offense, and we're still burying Kevin Petula. But they won the game. They're 8-2. They're in control of the #1 seed in the NFC. That's all that matters. They were outgained by another opponent. It doesn't matter. That opponent didn't win the game. Home team won the game tonight. That's the bottom line. They got a lot of work to do in that offense. I honestly believe that this is what we're going to see from this offense, no matter what we think it should look like. With the amount of money and talent that they have on this offense, I don't think there's going to be a level of consistency much higher than what we're seeing now, which is inconsistent. And like I said a couple of times already, there's going to be a couple of games they're going to win, pad their stats, and look good. At least 3 games left on their schedule. Outside of that, this is the team offensively that we're going to be watching.
All right, I'm going to give you the final word, but I want to say this, Seth. A lot of times we look at wins and we say something to the effect of, yeah, you play like this against the upper echelon teams, you're not going to win these games. Well, the Lions are a 6-3 team that we're really starting to turn it on. I know it was the Commanders last week, but this is a really good football team. They just made a change in terms of play calling. They, to me, are still an upper echelon team, but not against the Eagles. And yes, they won this game today, make no mistake about it, because of the way the Eagles defense played this game, Vic Fangio's game plan, Jalen Phillips' impact, Nico Dean playing like his hair was on fire in that fourth quarter. That's why they won the game. This offense was far from perfect. I am still not concerned, though, overall about Jalen Hurts as the quarterback of this football team. When it comes to receivers dropping footballs, tight ends dropping footballs, wide receivers not making a full effort for it, and a banged-up offensive line, I'm not going to all of a sudden look at Jalen Hurts and say he's the biggest problem they have, because he's far from that. I still have a lot of confidence in this football team going back to a Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl. Was the offense bad? Has it been bad? Have they not turned it on? That's absolutely accurate. But this is a game that you don't look at and say, well, they just eked out a win against a bad team. No, it's a very good football team, a well-coached football team, and the Eagles came away today with the victory. So I give them full marks for this win, but still, yes, the defense star of the show.
You know, the name of the game is to win the game. And I sit here and I look at the chat. Sometimes I see, you know, what people are saying. Sometimes they're upset because we're talking about, you know, the negativity surrounding the team, but the team is still winning. At the end of the day, it's all about winning, you know. But when we sit and we analyze this thing, we can't lie to people. You know, when you're a fan, and all you care about is the winning of the game. That's fine. But when you're in the business that we're in, it's our job to analyze what we see and give an opinion based upon, what we're seeing. I think that this football team, they talk all through the first 7 or 8 games. They talk about trying to find an identity, because they established their identity in the running game last year. So I think they thought that they had to establish one this year. I would surmise to you that this Eagles offense is what it's going to be. This is their identity. It's not going to change. They're going to struggle to run the football. They're going to have an explosive game every once in a while. Saquon, had 80-something yards tonight. He'll have some good games, but it won't be anything close to what we have come to expect, because of last year. Jalen's going to have an explosive game here or there, and he's going to have some games, where he's 50% completion percentage like tonight and, 130 yards passing. This is who they are. And like I said, this is a just enough offense. They had just enough offense coupled with the special teams play and the outstanding play of the defensive side of the football to win this football game, okay? How many other teams in the National Football Team can boast an 8-2 record? Only one other in the NFC right now. Only one. That's the LA Rams. And guess what? We got the tiebreaker over them. So when it's all said and done, we just got to ride this thing out and see where see where it stops, because who they are offensively at this point in time is going to be who they are. I don't see any massive changes, D-Gun, on the horizon. Mark, I don't see any creative play calling that's going to shift anything, offensively for them. I think that teams have come up with a blueprint for how to handle them, and until they can morph their offense and make some changes, some key breakers, and those types of things occur in the offseason. You plan those things in the offseason. Right now, their offense is who it is, their personnel is who it is, and their play caller is who they are. Thank goodness we got a defense that's on the trend upwards. They're going to carry us, and the special teams are going to continue to be who they are. Not that they can't have that breakout game every once in a while, but I get the sense and I get the feeling that offensively, this is who the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be for the remainder of the season.
Absolutely.
And it's okay because they're winning.
All right, now before we get out of here, though, still plenty of good to do in the world. Seth Joyner, giveaways, charitable causes, and all that.
So we're going to start with the charitable cause first. The Joyner Family Foundation this holiday season is adopting 3 families. Our fundraiser is going well. I want to thank all of you guys who have donated. In the pregame, someone donated $50. Thank you. Every little bit helps. We're going to wrap our arms around and bless 3 families that need it. And if we continue to raise money at the rate that we are, we're going to add some more families to it. We're in partnership with the Legacy Plastic Surgery Center. And they're raising money, we're raising money, and we're going to keep doing this, and we're going to figure out a way, to move forward and, supply for some families that are on hard times, a joyous holiday season. You can scan the QR code there. No amount is too little or too much. And in advance, myself and my wife, Kendra, we'd like to thank you for helping us help those that are in need.
That's beautiful. Well, gentlemen, it is a 4:25 kickoff against the Dallas Cowboys. Next on the docket for the Philadelphia Eagles, as they'll look to improve to 9-2 on the season. For Derek Gunn, for Seth Joyner, for Dr. Bruce Grossier.
It's Dallas week.
It's Happy Dallas week, everybody. There you go. For Dr. Bruce Grossier, Bailey Livesey, the great team here at Creative Outlet. We appreciate you guys joining us here. And also White Dog Cafe for just providing us a phenomenal dinner for tonight. And also our friends over at the Tinderbox as well. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. This has been the Verizon Postgame Show on 6abc.com and the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. Catch you guys on Sunday.
Go Birds.